Assalamualaikum and a very good day, everyone. The title of my talk is Illumination and Bookbinding of Qur'an and Religious Manuscripts in the Malay World. So I'm going fast because I have 50 slides, so I'm going as fast as a bullet train. Malay world consists of Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Brunei, southern Thailand, and the southern part of the Philippines, whereas the extended Malay world consists of Sri Lanka, Cape Town, and Madagascar. The extended Malay world are places where some of the communities are originated from the Malay world. Some of the religious manuscripts written in both Malay and Arabic still exist in these places, especially Cape Town and Sri Lanka. Through the spice trades, the Malay world, once ruled by Hindu and Buddhist kings, gradually embraced Islam. The spread of Islam was shaped by the strong Hadrami Malay connections through trade and religious ties. Interestingly, many Hadrami descendants who helped spread Islam didn't come directly from Yemen, but from Gujarat across the Bay of Bengal. Others from China and the Indian subcontinent, especially the Malabar coast, also played a role in spreading Islam. This process involved people of various backgrounds, including the native of the Malay world. Ooh, I'm very fast. This is the oldest known Qur'an manuscript from Malay world, which is now in the Netherlands. It was acquired by the Dutch during the colonial period in Johor, Malaysia, and dated before 1606. It was scribed by Akhtar Abdul Idris Fakran. As you can see, there is no illuminated pages in this manuscript. Same goes to the earliest known Malay transliterated work titled Aqaid al-Nasafi and dated 1590, also lack of illumination. Although illumination is absent from early surviving manuscripts, diverse styles of illumination were present in early Malay royal letters. For example, this letter from Sultan Iskandar Muda of Aceh to King James I of England dated 1615. The letter is illuminated with motif in gold ink, while the headpiece is decorated with Islamic motifs resembling the arabesque motif and cloud scrolls, with traces of Ottoman and Safavid influence. While the first letter shows the foreign influences, this illuminated letter shows local style illumination. It is a letter from Engku Temenggung Sri Maharaja Dangi Ibrahim, ruler of Johor, to Napoleon III, Emperor of France, written in Singapore in 1857. The illumination and the text are in gold ink, which usually reserved for the sultans. The letter is illuminated in the style seen in Qur'an manuscripts produced in the east coast of Malay Peninsula, especially from Terengganu, Malaysia. Most of the surviving manuscripts are from 19th to the early 20th century. The manuscripts are written on European paper, especially the Dutch papers. Papers bearing the three lunar watermark produced in Italy were commonly used and have been brought back from the Hijaz during Hajj pilgrimage and by Islamic scholars. All right. This is quite long. Well, skip. Okay. Okay. So in the Malay world, Qur'an illumination typically consists of three pairs of double illuminated pages. First is the opening of Surah Fatihah and the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. The central section, such as Surah Al-Kahf or sometimes Surah Al-Isra, and the closing with Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. However, there are Qur'ans with only two pairs of double illuminated pages, such as Qur'an from Patani, Thailand. The Pondok School on the east coast of Malay Peninsula and Pesantren in Indonesia have long served as key Islamic learning centers in Malay world. Within this institution, teachers and students produce Qur'an manuscripts distinguished by regional styles of illumination. Many surviving examples originate from these centers, and some remain in their collection today. Qur'an manuscripts and other religious texts were also created by skilled village artisans and often commissioned by royal patrons. Here are two examples of the illuminated pages of Qur'an from Patani and Aceh. This one is from Patani. So instead of two double illuminated pages, this Qur'an from Patani contains 4 double illuminated pages and only 1 juzuk marker at the margin. So this is the style of Patani, which is in southern part of Thailand. The frames surrounding the text block of each surah are decorated differently. So this is from Patani, southern part of Thailand, and this is from Aceh. For the Qur'an from Aceh, it features 3 double illuminated pages and 1 page with tailpiece, which contains Surah Al-Kawthar until Surah Al-Ikhlas. Unlike the Qur'an from Patani just now, its marginal markers are rendered in plain text rather than embellished with decorative ornaments. This is the characteristic of Qur'an from Aceh. So usually the marginal markers will be read in only. There's no decorative element on the juzuk markers or any markers on the margin. So yeah. As you can see, each region has its own illumination style. For example, this Qur'an from Aceh usually has extended vertical frames and 3 arches. So you can see the top part is actually the extended vertical frames, and the red box is the arches. So this is once you look at Qur'an from Aceh, this is the trademark from that region. However, there are also variations in style of Acehese illumination. For example, in the final 2 surah, Al-Falaq and Al-Nas. The illuminated pages of the Quran on the right do not follow the standard Acehese style, but still display elements of Acehese decorative art, particularly the use of floral motifs, foliage scrolls, and plated rope motif. So there are 2 examples here. One is traditional Aceh, which is in red in color, and the other one is one of the manuscripts that from Library of Berlin. This is quite different. This is, the next is a Quran from Terengganu. While most of the Quran in Malay world are not fully illuminated with gold, Quran from Terengganu, Malaysia is known for its golden illumination, especially during the reign of Baginda Omar of Terengganu, who reigned the state from 1831 until 1876. In fact, the current Sultan of Terengganu and some Malaysians are reviving the art of illumination of Quran from Terengganu. So you can see golden illumination. This is Terengganu, the state, the one that have dark color on the map. So in the east coast of Malaysia. All right. The Terengganu Quran has a certain characteristic that make it different than other Quran from Malay world. The illuminated pages have 4 rounded corners, and the 3 main arches are linked with continuous outline. So this is the characteristic of Terengganu. Just now we see Patani, and previous we see Aceh. So the question is, what factors influence the illumination style of Quran and Islamic manuscripts in the Malay world? So the first factor we're going to look at is the wood carving, which is the main influence on the motif of Quran and manuscript illumination. To illustrate the aspect, I'm using the Quran from Mindanao, southern part of Philippines, as a case study. This Quran manuscript contains 3 double illuminated pages. The juzuk markers and marginal ornament are in roundel shape. So this Quran from Mindanao in the collection of Princeton University. In Mindanao, southern Philippines, wood carvings are referred to as okir, literally means to carve, and are typically composed of rectilinear and curvilinear plant-inspired motifs. The motifs on the panolong is the beam like that. The motifs on the panolong, which is the extended house beam of the torogan, is decorated with fern and water serpent, or naga in Malay, motifs. These motifs are also used in decorating the frames of Surah Al-Fatihah and the opening of Surah Al-Baqarah. All right. Here are decorative motifs from Mindanao illuminated pages. The scrolling tendrils are inspired the Mago Yoda motif. So you can see the cloud scroll, the tendrils, scrolling tendrils, that is called Mago Yoda motif. The triangular arches protrude from each of these 3 sides of the rectangular frames around the text blocks is resembling the roof of torogan. The top, the triangle part, is similar to the roof of the house. The house torogan is actually a house for the Datu and the Sultan of southern part of Philippines. The multiple semicircles on the frame also inspired by the ornamental features of the torogan, and the shape of the panolong is similar to those extended frames. These motifs occur in majority of Quran from Mindanao, and they are based on the wood carvings of torogan house. All right. Next, this Quran is from Patani, and one of the main trademarks of Quran from Patani is the Sulur Bayung motif. Sulur Bayung, the Sulur Bayung is the yellow one down there. So this is the motif or trademark of Quran from Patani region, southern part of Thailand. So this is, Sulur Bayung is a prominent motif decorating the roof, minaret, and mimbar in the Malay Peninsula region. This is Tengkera Mosque in Malacca, Malaysia, in which the roof are decorated with Sulur Bayung. So you can see the Sulur Bayung is everywhere in mimbar, in the roof, and this mosque still exists. And this is our traditional mosque before we have dome, which was introduced by the Dutch and the British, the Indo-Saracenic dome. All right. The next decorative element you can find in Quran from Malay world is the use of Arabic calligraphy. When Islam reached Malay world, there was a transition period of Indic script to Jawi. So the calligraphy on the tombstone of Sheikh Ahmad Majnun in Malaysia here blends the strokes and cursive writing style of Kawi. So you can see the first black and white picture. The top one is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in Arabic, while the bottom one is Kawi script, which is Indic script. Yeah. As Arabic calligraphy progressed in the Malay world, the so-called Batu Aceh or Aceh stone produced locally were inscribed with a diverse array of calligraphic styles, including thuluth. Religious scholars from Malay world traveled to Mecca to study. They also learned a calligraphic style called Istanbul style calligraphy. Most of their works are seen on manuscripts such as Kitab Maulid and wood carvings in the Royal Palace of Terengganu. There are a few examples of Qur'ans decorated with calligraphy such as this one from Aceh. Usually the phrase they wrote is Shahada, there is no God but Allah and Prophet Muhammad is the messenger, or La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. Here is another style of calligraphy in Qur'an from Kampar Riau, an example from Qur'an Pantani. So you can see type of calligraphy but repeating the word Shahada. There were extensive connections and interaction between the people living along the littoral of the Western Indian Ocean and those in the Malay world. As the rulers of Malay world converted to Islam, they started to adapt the style of other rulers in the Islamic world. For instance, the cenotaphs made from marble by craftsmen in Khambat, a port city in Gujarat, India, were commissioned by Muslim patrons around the Indian Ocean rim, including Rasulid dynasty in Yemen. This cenotaph from Khambat also spread to Samudera Pasai and Gresik in Indonesia. So this is they found in Aceh, the cenotaph from Gujarat, India. So there are two motifs. There are two motifs usually appear on the cenotaphs, namely the interlaced knots and plated rope motifs that specifically only decorate the manuscript illuminated in Aceh. Here are two manuscripts. One is Kitab Maulid Sharaf Al-Anam, decorated with interlaced knots, and a Qur'an from Aceh with plated rope motif. So you can see these cenotaphs from Gujarat, India, also brought together with them the style of motifs on the stone that probably appear in the Quran in Aceh, especially because Aceh was one of the earliest region or place that converted to Islam. Right. In Aceh, the term for two-stranded plated rope motifs is called Bungong Putar Talur Dua, and the three-strand plated rope motif is known as Bungong Putar Talur Le. However, besides Quran from Aceh, one particular Quran from Sulawesi also featured the use of plated rope motif in its illumination. This is Quran from Sulawesi. Right. In order to connect these three Quran manuscripts with the Indian Ocean connection, it is interesting to find the same rope-plated motif in this Quran from Harar, Eastern Ethiopia. This shared motif points to the circulation of artistic tradition linking the Malay world with other manuscript cultures across the Western Indian Ocean. Earlier, Zulfikar Hijri observed the connection of Quran illumination from Malay world and the coastal East Africa region. For instance, he looked at the connections between Quran from Sulawesi and Siu from Kenya. He focused on the similarity design of the surah headings. Although it's unclear how the similarity occurs, there were evidence of movement of Quran from manuscripts and the scribes between Malay world and Yemen. Recently, Annabel Tahgalab showed the movement of scribes produced the same Sulawesi illumination layout. Here are two examples of Sulawesi style illumination. On the left is found in Penang, Malaysia, which was copied by a scribe from Rawa, Sumatra, living in Zabit, Yemen. On the right is another Sulawesi style, but the scribe is from Zabit. The final factor that influenced the illumination style in the scriptorium, some of the Quran produced in Java reflect a distinctive manuscript tradition fostered under royal patronage, especially under patronage of Paku Alam II of Yogyakarta. The illumination does not follow the standard style of regional Quran, such as this Quran, where the Juzuk marker is not written in the margin, but between the verses. So you can find the roundel, the Juzuk marker is in the text. So this is another example when compared to the Minak Hamir Hamzah, which is also from the Yogyakarta collection. So this is a traditional style of illumination seen in Quran from Java with triangular and square format frames. So during European colonization, the colonial scriptorium is the place where they copied manuscript for the officers. Here is a Kitab Maulid collected by a Dutch named Christian Snoek. The top part, which is the finial here, is called Mahkota Raja, the crown of a king, which is a traditional ornament on the roof of every traditional mosque in Malay world. The dome-like structure was probably inspired by the mosque architecture or the gateway, while the use of flags in the mosque is usually associated with the Ottoman influence. A comparable style of headpiece and a fino also appeared in a manuscript produced in Malacca in 1816, titled Hikayat Raja Iskandar Zulkarnain, the story of Iskandar Zulkarnain. Malacca itself was an active center of manuscript scribing and copying under the British administration. This illumination exhibit a greater freedom in design, diverging from the standard template and color typically used for Qur'an and other manuscript illumination. Sorry. So yeah, this is Qur'an Terengganu. There is a connection between Malay world and Qur'an. There's influences, not everything we created ourselves. So one of the things that we derive from the Ottomans is actually Ottoman ayat berkena system. So the system is characterized by the non-illuminated pages containing 50 lines of text, which each juzu of the Qur'an distributed evenly across the 10 folios, and each page concludes with a complete verse. So the next part I'm going to look at, I hope you guys still get the idea, even though I'm going too fast. So this part is on the bookbinding in the Malay world. Material used for bookbinding are mainly leather and textile. However, occasionally you may find wood and woven mat as covers. The Mindanao Qur'an that I showed earlier is bound using wooden pieces. In Indonesia, especially in Java, a lot of manuscripts are bound in leather, mostly ranging from brown to black leather. Some comes with envelope flap. The arrangement of ornaments following the Islamic tradition similar to the Persian style. So this is quite special. This is called Minangkabau style. So only the state, Minangkabau is a region in Sumatra, Indonesia. So they produce their own style and still have envelope flap following the Islamic tradition. Okay. Besides Minangkabau style, there is one style of bookbinding known as the Terengganu Royal Binding. It features red and occasionally maroon leather decorated with ornate ornaments along with four-edged flap and envelope flap. Another feature of Terengganu style binding is using the imported cotton textile pasted on board and the text block. So this, you can see that is the cover. The rest is actually imported textile pasted on the board. This is quite interesting because Terengganu has its own royal binding style, and this one from Aceh similarly follow the ornate style of Terengganu binding. In addition to that, the cartouche on the four-edged flap is also inscribed with a verse from Surah Al-Waqi'ah, touched by none except the purified angels, which is similar to the Terengganu style binding. So you can see the Terengganu style binding and the Persian style binding. The cartouche contains the same surah. This verse emphasizes to handle the Quran only in a state of ablution. This verse is also found to decorate the four-edged flap of Quran from Islamic world. The piece boards and text blocks are also pasted with imported floral materials. So both Terengganu and also Aceh just now also use imported textile to paste on the board. And here is the same textile pasted on the first fly leaf. All right, this is special. While most of the manuscripts are bound in leather, Quran manuscripts from Patani are bound in textile. This is the only place that you can find this type of binding. The Patani style binding appears to start with stitching primary end bands along with the tie downs on the spine. This followed by sewing of secondary end bands in the chevron pattern using red and cream threads for decorative purpose while keeping the tie downs aligned on the core. So this is specialty of Patani. Even other places in Malay world, we didn't produce this. So, almost finished. Another thing about bindings in Malay world is the local binders have developed their own distinctive style binding by introducing new sewing methods, particularly on the end bands. The first one shows the secondary end bands from often feature frills on the edges. So if every time you see frills on the edges, usually sometimes it's connected Southeast Asian manuscripts. While the second one, chevron pattern at the end bands with red and white threads, a style characteristic of many Qur'an manuscripts from the Malay world. Right. In conclusion, the illumination of Quran in the Malay world draw on both local creativity and foreign motifs that came through maritime connection. Early illuminators developed a regional style that later artists continued to adapt and refine over time. Royal courts and Islamic educational centers such as Pondok and Pesantren were key drivers in the diversification of illumination styles across the Malay world. Colonial scriptorial also left their mark through their influence and was less pronounced than that of the courts and religious institutions. When it comes to bookbinding, examples from across the Malay world show how Islamic bookbinding practices were adapted to local materials, and bookbinders also developed their own distinctive style. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could we just take a question from the audience, if you don't mind? Only one question. تفضلي.
Thank you for your presentation. You talked about the influence of Gujarat and also the African influence. I'm interested to know, is there any Persian influence in the design of the manuscript of Aceh?
Manuscripts, for example, Qur'an, no, but manuscript, yes, you can find. It's either Persian or Ottoman. Usually it has like one headpiece, just like the, okay, no. I remember there's a Malay letter, the earlier one, the first one, you can see style of illumination of Safavid style. That is, you can find that in manuscript, but not in Qur'an. Qur'an are more to local produce, local production, local ideas. It's just that the Ottoman came in because of the connection during the war when the Portuguese, we need help from the Ottoman to fight the Portuguese, and that's why we have a strong connection with the Ottoman. But there were a lot of Persians who migrated to southern part of Thailand, even until now. You can see the influence. And also, they are everywhere. Even our language has some Persian words as well. So they are influenced. But when it comes to Quran, it's creativity of the ulama who went to Hijaz to study, is the creativity of the people artisans, because our book carvings, especially in the east coast of Malay Peninsula and the Aceh, if you go, Aceh has a lot of old manuscripts, a lot of collectors. So they have this, something that they own value, their own tradition. I hope I answered that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.